get the point.
We will rise together, you and I, rise together hand in hand. Come on, we will rise together, heads held high. We will reach the promised land. Come, my friend, I see a brighter day, where freedom reigns for everyone. Come along and we will find a way to justice rising like the sun. We will vote together, you and I, vote together hand in hand. Come on, we will vote together, heads held high. We will reach the promised land. Come, my friend, I see a brighter day, where freedom rings for everyone. Come along and we will find a way to justice rising like the sun. To justice rising like the sun.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. Please join us this morning in giving thanks for the land upon which our church stands. Land near the Tongva village of Bavunga, where a fresh water stream ran laughing to the ocean, where the land was filled with acorn and willow trees, berry bushes, and near the water reeds grew. The Tongva live and have lived here throughout the LA Basin and beyond for thousands of years. The La Brea tar pits girl from 8,000 years ago is a Tongva woman. The woman on the seal of Los Angeles County is a Tongva woman. Tongva means people of the earth. We recognize and acknowledge the first people of this ancestral land with respect to the elders, past and present, and emerging. We recognize that Tongva are still here, and we are committed to lifting up their stories and culture.
I have a poem I'd like to share. I cannot side, ride, or abide with genocide. It is never justified and must be defied. If you say it's not happening, you're either deceived or you've lied. The truth you have not perceived or have just denied. You do not recognize those who have unjustly died, and with evil you have complied. From the consequences you cannot run and hide. You cannot escape this turning tide. It's a hell that burns from inside as you're bound under knots that your arrogance tied. Now is your time to relinquish all pride. If not, your pain will never subside, not even through vain acts of suicide. Yes, take a breath and gather in together and just focus and meditate on what it is that we want, because we have the choice to create heaven on earth. We're already in the heavens, floating through space and time right now. So, the power of God is within each and every one of us. So let's be disciplined with our word and utilize our word to create the heaven that we want within us and around us. Focus with our breath. Breathe out. Deep. And let all that air out. Breathe it all in. We give gratitude for each and every one of us here today. We're grateful and thankful.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is Reverend Lissa. It's so good to see you this morning. Let's take a minute just to greet one another as we are coming in. Turn to your neighbor, get up and move around if you'd like. Welcome in.
Thank you. Never know what you're going to say, but it's all a part of it, right? It's all connected.
There's so much happening right now. You can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thankful for you.
Not yet. Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, if we can find our ways back to our seats, please. Let's find our way back to our seats. I'm going to use Maria's little bell. All right. Okay. Welcome in, everyone. My name is Reverend Lissa. It's so good to see you. Welcome to our guests and our newcomers, and welcome back if you are coming back and joining us. We're so glad to have you. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online. We're so glad that you're here with us. Once again, we are now live streaming onto Zoom and YouTube as well, so YouTube is a good place to go if you've missed any services and you want to go find out what's been going on or share it with your friends or family. Check us out on YouTube as well. As always, we offer seating outside as well, so if you feel like you'd like to get up and move around or experience the fresh air today, you are most welcome. We are glad to continue that inclusive practice here. After the service, please do stop by and grab some coffee. There is also going to be food because we have with us a special guest today, Rachel Maxwell, who is our consultant who worked with us yesterday with about 50 people on a process of gathering in what we love about this congregation and what we want to carry into the future. So join us after the service for a presentation by Rachel where she'll share some of the findings from yesterday and invite more voices to participate in that process. Also, after the service today, the Saving Democracy team wants everybody to know that, first of all, the letters, I believe, are off. All of the, 1,000 letters that we sent? And so folks stayed on Saturday and worked on that as well. It's incredible. Thank you to everyone who signed a letter, who stamped a letter, who put some extra special touches from our congregation to get out the vote, because it is our lives are depending on it. So yes. So Saving Democracy team wants you to know that there's voter registration table today. And Roy, please raise your hand. Roy is heading up the voter registration table. And if you have, if you're pretty sure that you've registered to vote, go ahead and check again and make sure you make a plan. Make sure that your registration is current, your address is current, and call your family and friends and make sure that they have their current information and ready to go for that as well. Gary Frazier would like to make a quick announcement about joining the finance team.
I am Gary. Good morning. I am Gary Frazier, the co-chair of the Finance Committee, and we are looking for some of you to join our committee. And I know you're thinking, I don't like math. I didn't like it in high school. I'm not an actuary. I'm not an accountant. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. You don't need to know math. In fact, it's not math work, it's mission work. Our committee outside of the board is the only one that's at the intersection of our values, our mission, and our action. We get to see it come alive. On a ledger, there's numbers, but what's more important, things that's jumping off the page are the sanctuary, the playground, the next social justice event. That's what's popping off the page, and that's what we're there to do. I was reminded yesterday that our views of finance are generational. We are especially looking for people that are millennial, Gen Z. In fact, sad to say, I just turned 50 this month, and I am the youngest member of the Finance Committee. So, I know you're out there, and I know you want to have fun because we have barbecues and pool parties, and 9 times out of 10, our meetings end on time. So, if you're interested, find me here at in the congregation. Find me, or talk to Reverend Lissa, and we'll get you on. Thank you.
Right. And finally, I just want to say a big thank you to our BIPOC group and our volunteers who made Friday's Salsa Night so successful and fun. Thank you for everyone who joined, and hopefully that will be an annual tradition. Let's give a big round of applause. Okay, so welcome in. We are one of many congregations throughout our country who are participating in today in what's called a climate justice revival, a climate revival. Throughout religious history, revivals have marked periods of resurgence in commitment of people of faith to their values and their actions. Tent revivals took people out of the 4 walls of the church and into the world. And they brought the community together and served as a galvanizing force for the future, often in times of great anxiety. So in the midst of overlapping climate crises and mounting social injustice, with our election just a few weeks away, we are in this time of great change and also great possibility. So taking a note from our faith ancestors who have gone before, we are coming together to recommit. Today we are moving past and acknowledging systems of injustice in our history, making space for expressions of grief, despair, and pain, but also tapping into our love for each other and for our earth, centering those who are most impacted by climate disruption. And I'm just going to ask you to raise your hand if you are bringing in someone who is being affected by a climate disaster in this moment. Someone who has been displaced, who is in the Carolinas or in Florida, who is worried about their lives, their livelihoods. This is now, this is immediate, this is urgent, this is today. And so I can't think of a better thing to do in the face of uncertainty as the floods continue to rage, the fires push on. I saw 8 different fires burning this morning in California. I can't think of a better thing to do than to bring the hopeful energy of our faith together in this space for us to recommit. So we light this chalice today as a symbol of our passion, our care for each other, and our burning brilliance in the face of great need. And Grace will light our chalice. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to invite you to rise in body or spirit for our first hymn of the morning. It's beautiful hymn called For the Earth Forever Turning. And you can look at the lyrics in your hymnal or read them up on the screen, and we're led by our wonderful Wilder spirits this morning. Welcome in.
Skies for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures in their silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons' harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to the blue-green hills of earth.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite onto the chancel members of the Green Team who are going to share a little bit about our climate action history here at the church. We have a rich history, and we are excited to share it with you. Just maybe a little pointer or nod when you need to change this.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Grace Lawrenson, and I'm a member of the Green Team here. In the next few minutes, we will see a snapshot of the climate history of what we've done in this church for climate change. We've been working on it for quite a while, and we'll show what we're doing in the future. Where is she? Okay. In 2006, a young member of the church who was inspired by Al Gore's movie, An Inconvenient Truth, came to our town hall council and advocated for doing some work on climate change. And many members rallied around, and in typical UU fashion, a task force was formed under the umbrella of social justice. In the early days, we had lots of projects and presentations for the congregation. We had vegetarian cooking, Friday films, waterless urinal were a few of our efforts. We followed the guidelines of the Unitarian Universalist Association Green Sanctuary Program. In all church activities, every year was the celebration of Earth Day. And in 2018, children and adults wrote on ribbons about what they loved about the earth and tied the ribbons onto the trees. And those ribbons remained for several months afterwards, flying in the breeze. Saving water in Long Beach has been an important initiative. The church installed drought-tolerant grass and low-flow sprinklers under the structure. That was in 2008. And if you think you already saw this picture, indeed you did. It was on the first slide. We are also activists for environmental justice in the wider community. We have marched, held signs, and spoken at rallies, and at the City Council many times. When we replaced our courtyard lawn with a native plant garden, some skeptics worried, where will the children play? Well, before the plants were even matured, the children were happily hopping along the stones, and now the garden provides an outdoor classroom for children and food for the butterflies and the lizards, and some rabbits. Before we started Green Sanctuary, I had no idea how much energy was consumed by incandescent lights and even fluorescent lights. We gradually replaced all the lights on the campus with LEDs. The picture is one in the parking lot. Those are big, big users. A community-based project was a work to save the Willow Gulch, which was a natural wetland in the middle of Long Beach, which was scheduled to be leveled to make a sports park. We did lots of cleanups and led tours to raise awareness of this undeveloped land. And it finally was accepted as a park, Willow Springs Park, and the first phase of the park was finished just in time for our 100-year anniversary. And if you go to the park today, you may have to search for the bench because it's surrounded by mature native plants. We spent a lot of time on our resolution for climate change. You'll see a shortened version of it on the screen. There are lots of whereases and 3 to-be resolves, and one specifically calls for the United States Congress to keep the promises made at the Paris Agreement and to pass legislation to reduce carbon emissions. It's still going on, slowly, slowly. You can see a complete version of this resolution on our website. The city of Long Beach was also working on climate action, and we went to many community meetings and gave our input on developing the Long Beach City Climate Action Plan. Initially, they called it the Climate Activation and something else plan, forgot. What? Adaptation. They took the adaptation out of it because it was too hard to remember what CAAP stood for. In 2015, the congregation implemented one of our most ambitious actions, installing solar panels on Wilder Hall. With some additions of more panels in 2022, our electric bill has been 0 in several months. Our organic vegetable garden takes a lot of work, but it's good work. And some of the abundant produce is donated to the Long Beach Community Table to nourish the greater community. In 2023, after many, many years of concern and advocacy, the church sold oil and gas interests that we had inherited from bygone days. These interests had provided a good income, but we felt that the investment was inconsistent with our church's environmental values. We are not alone in this work. We partner with other groups on climate legislation and action. Citizens Climate Lobby, 350.org, East Yards Community for Environmental Justice are just a few. We also donate financially to local environmental groups through our Second Sunday social justice collections. And now I will turn it over to Arthur for more of the future.
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank Annie for all the words that went with this. It's due to her. So what is the Green Team's vision going forward? We have some ideas, but we need help from all of you. Next. It is the Green Team's hope that we will become a 100% renewable energy church by 2030. That means we have 5 years to be a campus run entirely on renewable energy that we produce and store on our own. Why do this? Because our principles and values call us to care for planet Earth, the home we share with all living things, and to work together for diversity and against racism and oppression. Now is time for your input. Kids, members, everyone is welcome. Please take a minute to think about, there's two questions on the screen. What do you love about this earth? And what action will you take for climate justice? So please take a couple of minutes to think about your answers to these two questions, then write a word or a few or draw a picture that expresses your answer to either or both of these questions on your puzzle piece. There's a black dot on the top. It will be in the top center of the side you write on. And these will all be put together eventually. If after you write on it, after the service you want to decorate it some more, there's some colored pens over here and a table. After the service, if you want to come up and embellish a little bit. So, have fun.
Hello again. I didn't say earlier, my name is Bill. I'm the chair for the LGBT caucus as well as a member of the Green Team. So, fear stifles the imagination and limits our capacity for relationships that embrace our beautiful and abundant humanity. Fear creates cynical cycles of supremacy and extractive relationships with each other and our planet. Reimagining together is how we overcome fear. Reimagining together is how we build new relationships and a new era. Putting love at the center. Today, especially, we put love at the center of our work for climate justice. Please join us in prayers of the people and planet. Our congregational response is, let us reimagine a new era together. Beginning right here in our congregation, we pray for ourselves, that we open our hearts to be companions caring for a hurting world and committing to create a world of flourishing. Let us reimagine a new era together. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We commit to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. So we pray for land, ecosystems, all species, the entire natural world. Let us reimagine a new era together. We pray for justice for local frontline communities who are impacted first, worst, and longest by climate change and who face systemic oppression. Let's imagine a new era together. In our reimagining, we gain the capacity to recommit to communities of mutual support, which are the building blocks of an ecosystem of mutual survival. Let us reimagine a new era together. We look towards each other, people of faith, good conscience, and spirit, leaning on one another and trusting in the hope we can create together. Let us reimagine a new era together. We make right the wrongs of the past by not ignoring them, but by doing the difficult work of dismantling the oppressive systems and behaviors that feed our illusion and separation. May we live in a way that honors our interdependence and acts in accordance with our interconnection with all people and the planet. Let us reimagine a new era together. As we begin in local committed communities of support, we find the strength and courage to widen our circles of concern, resisting hierarchies of value and ideologies of scarcity. Let us reimagine a new era together. With humility and commitment, we acknowledge our own part in so much harm to our relations. Saltwater encroachment, dying permafrost, and the poison refuse of illegal mining. Let us reimagine a new era together. May we set down fear. May our courage to face the intersecting systems of harm lead to the strength to create intersecting practices of love and healing so that all may flourish. Let us reimagine a new era together. Reimagining together, we build new relationships. We put love at the center of climate justice work, and we commit. Amen.
Okay, we're going to move into our offering and our anthem in just a moment, but I'm just wondering how those puzzle pieces are going. And I'm wondering if anyone, there's something that is when we commit out loud, we hold each other to those commitments a little bit more. Does anyone want to share something that they love or they want to commit to for climate justice?
I love trees. I plant and conserve trees. 2 fig trees, 2 desert willows, 1 silk floss, 3 weed trees on the alley, avocado tree, apricot tree, and I think we'll have a tea tree, one that makes the leaves that go in luau's. Yeah, I've got one of those too.
Inspiring. All right.
Walking in the sunshine.
Mine's kind of long. I said, I love this congregation because of the emphasis on acceptance of all humans as they are. There's no expectation of confirmation as long as we respect all rights to life.
Okay, I'm going to read for 2 of us. One is, I appreciate plant-based food and support self-sustained vegetation. I will create vegetable gardens in my home and contribute to community gardens. And then my son over here, who is 11 and a half, wrote, I love that the earth has fresh water. I will help clean water.
We did 2 sides. On one side, we have plant more, pave less. And then the other side, it's there's no planet B.
Yeah.
To help people to eat less meat, animal agriculture produces more methane and CO2. This means we have to change our habits, not some rich oil company out there.
My commitment is to vote, and what I like about the earth is its generosity in spite of how we treat it.
Whenever we can afford it, I am committed to making sure my next car is a hybrid or a plug-in electric vehicle.
Are you inspired? All right. Did you think of something else you want to add to that puzzle piece? All right. We'll be collecting them at the end, and actually, you want to? Yes, at the door. Yes, and we're going to be putting them all together so we can see what our congregation's commitments are as well. One of our commitments as a congregation is that we support our work here at the congregation to continue our climate justice efforts. You saw a little bit of how we've been doing that over the past 20 years and how we'll continue to do that for the next 20 more.
So as we move into our offering, I invite you to give generously to the congregation, and particularly to think about the gratitude that we have for all of the important work related to the environment and climate justice here, and how you can be a part of it too. And our song is called Part of It.
Part of It. So our anthem today is Part of It. An anthem is a rousing or uplifting song identified with a particular group or cause. For this special denomination-wide climate justice revival, the planning team commissioned an anthem to celebrate not just today, but to carry forward in years to come, identifying our work for climate justice. The talented musicians, Leah Morris and Adam Pod, have gifted us with a song entitled Part of It. It calls us to choose survival and make an art of it, poetic ways of stating that we are committed to working for a flourishing world. Because our care of the planet and all its creatures is an existential task, the lyrics reflect a sense of urgency, as well as passion, dedication, and joy in the work. The song also calls us to curiosity, humility, creativity, and grace. The work does not fall on one person's shoulders alone. Contributions individuals make are part of the solution. We must ground our solutions in community care with love at the center. Let's reimagine together. And please join in singing the chorus.
Turn that on.
There's an eternal sacred circle. We are part of it. There's an eternal sacred circle. We are part of it. We are only part of it.
There's an eternal 1, 2, 3, go. There's a divine and loving wisdom. We're a spark of it. There's a divine and loving wisdom. We're a spark of it. We're only part of it. We are a part. We're a part of it. We are a spark. We're a spark of it. We are a part. We are part of it. We are a spark. We're a spark of it. Here, as one voice, we choose survival as we start to make a part of it. Now is our moment for revival. We're at the heart of it, and we are only part of it. We are only part of it. We are a part. We are part of it. We're at the heart. We're at the heart of it. We are a part. We are part of it. We're at the heart. We're at the heart of it. We are only part of it. We are only part of it.
Thank you.
Well, before I offer my reflection, I was wondering, Rachel, if you wanted to invite anybody to come to the talk or just share anything, because we haven't heard your voice, and I feel like I'm putting you on the spot, but I was wondering if you wanted to just, that would be wonderful. Just bring us into what's happening next, because it's all connected.
Yeah. Well, when your green team was inviting you in, it just made me think this is the moment for you to be creating a vision, a collective vision of the future, and figuring out what is your mission in all of this work. So I resonate, and this afternoon I'll be making a presentation that will tell you about what I've done here this weekend, but it will also invite you into the process that you will be in over the course of the rest of this church year until June. So please come to the presentation. If you can't, that's okay. I think they're recording it. And then also, though, when you have an opportunity to participate over the coming months, do it. Engage. Be part of it.
Thank you. So when we were planning this service, my first outreach was to a local poet whose name is Nancy Lene Wu. She's actually a member of this congregation, and she's very active in the Long Beach poetry scene. And this is from her book, I'd Rather Be Lightning. And it's entitled The End of the Holocene. I'd rather be alive and messy. I'd rather be a wild guava in the Zaffaria district fuming fuzzy lawn snow. Did I pronounce that correctly? Good, because I live there. I'm moving through a cloud, writing from inside the trenches, using war as an analogy, because that's the paradigm I've inherited. Assembling disaster kits and hoarding fresh water. I think about peat bogs constantly, methane bubbling in their mouths, rapid intensification towards tipping points. For every degree Celsius, 10% more lightning strikes. Emotions are electrical impulses dismantling me on the daily. I'm struck by refugees seeking the cool of night, decreasing yields, whitewashed Andes, bleached coral reefs, sunny day flooding over low-lying islands, Arctic packs plummeting, walruses careening off cliffs, literally locust swarms, and new exciting diseases. We need a radical shift in guard. We need to talk about consumption's blind assault on the living world for the red Solo cup and a hamburger. The cow's eye twitches. It's hailing fish. Poetry is the language of chaos in the order of letter. I'm trying to slow down enough to say, the sky is not an open sewer. By 2030, by 2050, by 2070, glimpsing Earth from space shows dried up lakes. Rain sizzles, evaporates before it hits the ground. So today across the country, our UU Climate Justice Revival requires us and calls us to reimagine a new era. And the phrase that we were given to play with was from an extractive age to a new era. And so first I want to invite us to wrap our minds and hearts around this term extractive. Is it new to anyone? This word extractive, is that new to you? It was newish to me. I mean, I heard it, but I hadn't really thought about this word extractive as both a set of practices and a mindset that we are in. So what is the meaning of this term extractive, and how can we then imagine something else that's not extractive? How can we move from extractive to extractivist? Extractivist. There's a collection called Our Extractive Age, Expressions of Violence and Resistance, and it's a collection of scholarly essays. It's not really for, the poetic reader, but it's by a collection of academics and climate scientists. Judith Shapiro and John Andrew McNeish are the editors, and their specialty is sustainable development, particularly around resource extraction. So by definition, extraction is this general practice of taking resources for maximum benefit without reciprocity or stewardship. Taking resources for maximum benefit without reciprocity or stewardship. Now, you can probably think of a few industries when we think about that. The two that came to mind for me was, first of all, of course, petroleum, oil. And here in Long Beach, it's just like, that is our history and heritage here, right? And I was also thinking about Hawaii, and I was thinking about Maui a year after the fires in the pineapple industry, of how extractive that pineapple industry, of how all of basically the vegetation was depleted in order to grow pineapples, and then created this environment that all of these, dry brush could basically create a tinderbox. But you can think of other extractive practices, and in fact, they're looking at extractive as this really wide understanding that it's like it's more in our culture. It's a part of how we think. And they were even thinking about data solicitation as an extractive practice. How many people over the course of my ministry here have said, "Hey, Reverend Lissa, someone's trying to get information from you. There's someone sending a text. Our directory online, our information has been extracted and mined." And there's this sense that our elders are vulnerable for being solicited, right? My father-in-law just got his Social Security money stolen, because he answered the phone and just wanted, So this extractive culture where so many people are being exploited and taken advantage of, that originates from the Latin word to draw from, that describes not only this practice of extraction, but a kind of mentality or worldview that shapes our culture, sometimes invisibly so, and sometimes you get these real examples. And the effects of extractive practices are inherently violent, these scholars say. Inherently violent. And there are actually kind of two kinds or more kinds of violence. There's an immediate violence that you see when a resource or a person or the land has been extracted, right? The devastation that happens. My father works in Nigeria in the oil industry, and the land that has been so completely devastated. So you can see that devastation, you can see that violence happening. But then there is also a protracted violence that happens over time. And we are experiencing the impact of that extractive practice, not just in the past 100 years, but many hundreds of years, such that this protracted violence evolves over time, where the peoples and the creatures and the lands of that original ecosystem continues to bear the effects for generations to come. So when Michael got up here and talked about genocide, maybe he was talking about Gaza, maybe he was talking about the genocide of the indigenous peoples. But there is a violence that was original here in our country, both in terms of the genocide of indigenous people and the harvesting of the land and the taking of the land. And that violence then replicates, and you can see that all over the world. The devastation of both peoples and lands and the environment that then comes forward from that. So we are experiencing this long-term effects of the extractive mindset. And it's often when these violent effects of climate chaos emerge in our own lives that we become most connected to that violence. I saw quite a few hands raised about people whose families or friends have been affected by fires or floods or who are currently in a crisis. And all you have to do is open your phone or turn on the TV and see what we're talking about. The floods for Hurricane Helene, they say, was the strongest hurricane on record. And so even like emergency management and people who are prepared cannot be prepared. The force and the strength of the climate events is a different level. And so we are being forced to adapt and also being overcome. And, you know, some of these events we can overcome. I mean, thank God that Camp de Benneville Pines and Camp Arrow Bear and my sister-in-law's home in Green Valley Lake and maybe your family's home in any of those places where the fires have been raging, that the fires have been able to be contained here in our area. However, that is not the case in North Carolina and Florida and Georgia currently, where they say over 50 people have died just in the past few days. So many of these consequences of extractive practices are this violence that is way far in the past and impacts us here in the present. And there's something about the extractive mindset that makes us feel like the consequences should be farther away and farther off than they are. That the problems of climate change and climate justice are, in fact, a long-term thing that we have to worry about in the future. And these climate events bring it into relief for us, that it is right in front of us. But really what the extractive violence is that distance is not a distance at all. It is an illusion, and that people who have been most marginalized and affected are out of view for us, mostly. Out of view, until it is our family, our friend, our home that has been affected. And that's part of privilege. It's part of how it works. That we, and even the people who are affected currently, a lot of people have been able to evacuate or able to seek shelter or able to build a new home, right, if they have been affected. But I want us to really think about this extractive worldview that rationalizes that some lands and peoples and creatures and resources are worthy of sacrificing and extracting for our own convenience and comfort, for us to drive our cars or have fresh water or have our homes to live in or whatever it is. That the worldview is actually in us in a way, this extractive worldview. And it is in some ways linked to a white supremacy, you could say, a white supremacy culture that goes way back to and thinking about a religious history that we are a part of. That started with the sacrifice of indigenous peoples and lands, and that we have inherited that. And that is both hard to confront and important for us to confront, for us actually to change anything. James Baldwin once wrote, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." There's an amazing article I still look back to by a Unitarian Universalist environmental justice activist who I really commend to you, and he lives here in the LA area. His name is Hop Hopkins. And he wrote an article back in 2020 after the George Floyd murder and racial justice uprising about how the environmental movement was connected to all of this. And he wrote, "We're in this global environmental mess because we have declared parts of our planet to be disposable. The watersheds where we frack the earth, fracking is a huge issue for our voting upcoming, to extract gas are considered disposable. The neighborhoods I live in near Los Angeles, surrounded by urban oil fields, are considered disposable. The very atmosphere is considered disposable. When we pollute the hell out of a place, that's saying that the place and all the people in it that they call home are of no value. In order to treat places and resources as disposable, the people who live there get treated like rubbish too. Sacrifice zones imply sacrificed people." And he says, "I really believe in my heart of hearts that after a lifetime of thinking and talking about these issues, that we will never survive the climate crisis without ending white supremacy too." Do we see how all these issues are connected? I mean, you may be like, this is a reviving, this is a revival. But I think in order to make the change, we must face. We must face the past so that we can look forward to understand how we become more resilient. And our own resilience is actually in becoming accountable and saying, yes, that is the history. Yes, that is what's happened. And yes, this is how we want to change it. Because here at UUCLB, it is up to us not only to face that origins and the consequences of extractive violence, but to become extractivists. To face the realities of that protracted violence, we can recommit to the stewardship of our lands and peoples and creatures by cultivating accountable relationships based on mutuality and care and repair, and make that commitment to be a renewable energy campus. To move from extractive practices here in the campus, and what an amazing thing that we voted to let go of our oil lease that we had had for over 100 years. That is worthy of some claps. And it was not easy because it involved a little sacrifice. It involved looking at our budget and saying, well, we have had this money coming in from the oil lease for years that we have depended upon. And to let go of this, to make this commitment that's based in our values, to take a step to divest from fossil fuels here on our campus and to step into that future of renewable energy, we have to make the squeeze in our monthly budget. And we have to figure out how to replace it with activities and programs and income that is actually rooted in our values. And when you let go of something that we've been holding on to with a scarcity mindset of if we let go of this, then on the other side we won't have what we need. But letting go of it then opened us to stand even more firmly and boldly in our values and to imagine what that future will look like. So we started being a part of that extractive history here in Long Beach. And we are going to write a new story for our next 100 years to become extractivists who understand how our actions and our relationships can create a resilient and livable future for a city where all communities can thrive. And that our campus is a haven not just for us, but for all people to come and to see a model for how we can live in more harmonious and accountable relationships, how a garden can be at the center of a campus where everyone's participation is important, and everyone's action, everyone's piece of the puzzle combined creates this vision. So I want us to to now gather yourself together, because we're going to stand up and we are going to rise. So I'm going to invite you to stand up. And I'm actually going to invite you into, this is both heavy and hopeful. So I'm going to invite you to take a big stretch and reach your arms up, because we are rising up. Reach up towards the sky. And then I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath and bring that in. And give yourself a little hug, and bring in all of the energy, of the hopeful energy for action that is in this room. Bring in the gratitude for all that have come before. Bring in an acceptance, an appreciation of all of our history and all the history we will make. And then I'm going to invite you to open your arms and to look to your right and to your left, and catch the eyes of someone who is standing right beside you, who is here to create this hopeful history with you. Okay, now I'm going to invite us all to turn to our wilder spirits for our closing hymn, We Will Rise Together. And you can stay standing, and we're going to sing 2 verses. The lyrics are on the screen, and it's We Will Rise Together and We Will Vote Together. Let's do it.
And you heard it already if you're here for the prelude. 1, 2, 3, 4. We will rise together, you and I. Rise together hand in hand. Come on, we will rise together, heads held high. We will reach the promised land. Come, my friend, I see a brighter day where freedom reigns for everyone. Come along and we will find a way to justice rising like the sun. Vote. We will vote together, you and I. Vote together hand in hand. Come on, we will vote together, heads held high. We will reach the promised land. Come, my friend, I see a brighter day where freedom reigns for everyone. Come along and we will find a way to justice rising like the sun. To justice rising like the sun.
It takes good people to do good work. As you've seen today, many of our climate goals here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Long Beach have already been achieved by many good people. And we are blessed here to have new good people who are stepping up to help continue that good climate work here in our own house, into the wider community, and into the world. If you will, please take these words with you into your week. A short excerpt from Amanda Gorman's beautiful poem, Earthrise. And as threats drew nearer and our urgency became clearer, and we realized that we hold nothing dearer than this floating body we all call home. Amen and blessed be.
Okay. Our service is over, but our service continues. And so the Wilder Spirits and the congregation wants to invite you all to move into our time of coffee hour and conversation. Please stay for our presentation. There will be food and there will be childcare and all good things. Thank you for coming, and we wish you well, and we'll see you in just a moment. The puzzle pieces will be collected at the doors. Puzzle pieces, let's collect those.